Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Zishan Rizvi Leadership Wala from Rehan AI Teacher Training Institute, Batch 21. And today I have an opportunity to discuss how to plan and organize a productive day from Chat GPT. Good afternoon, GPT.
Good afternoon, Zeshan. I'm really glad to be part of your session today. I'm ready to dive into practical strategies for planning a productive day, so feel free to fire away with your first question, and I'll give you a solid example right off the bat.
All right. My first question is, what does a truly productive day look like to you?
Great question. For me, a truly productive day has a few key elements. First, a clear prioritization of tasks. I always focus on the top three things that will make the biggest impact. Then I set time blocks, like 90-minute focus sessions, and I make sure I schedule breaks so I don't burn out. For example, if I'm working on a big project, I might set aside 9 to 10:30 a.m. for deep work, then review progress after a break. The result is a sense of momentum and clarity by the end of the day.
Do you start your day with intention or reaction, and why does it matter?
I definitely start with intention. I take a few minutes at the beginning of the day to set a clear purpose, like defining my top priorities and how I want to feel by the end of the day. When you start with intention, it prevents you from just reacting to every email or distraction. That focus keeps you in the driver's seat, so you're making progress on what matters, not just putting out fires.
Okay. What is the first habit you practice each morning that sets the tone for your day?
The first habit I practice is a short morning reflection. I spend about 5 minutes just checking in with how I'm feeling and reviewing the top goals for the day. For example, I might ask myself, what's the most important outcome I want by evening? That small pause grounds me, so I'm intentional as soon as I start working.
And how do you decide what task deserve your time and energy?
I decide by using a simple framework. I ask two questions. First, does this move me toward a bigger goal or impact? And second, how urgent or time sensitive is it? So, for instance, if I have a client project due next week, that takes priority because it drives results. I also try to balance things, mixing both short, quick wins and longer strategic tasks. That keeps me aligned and productive.
Are you planning your day the night before or the same morning? Which works better for you?
I usually plan the night before. That way, I wake up with a clear map of what I need to do and I'm not scrambling when I first start. For example, before bed, I jot down my top priorities and any time blocks. Then in the morning, I just fine tune it if anything urgent pops up. Really helps me stay on track.
All right. And what are your top three priorities each day, and how do you protect them?
So, my top three priorities each day usually revolve around three pillars. First, a strategic task that moves a big project forward. Second, a relationship or communication action, like reaching out to a key contact. And third, a personal growth habit, like learning something new or exercising. I protect them by time blocking and setting boundaries. For instance, I turn off notifications during focus blocks, and I only allow interruptions if something truly urgent comes up. That keeps them from getting lost in the shuffle.
How do you handle unexpected interruption without losing focus?
So, when interruptions pop up, I have a couple of strategies. First, I give myself a short window, like 5 minutes, to handle a quick issue. If it's going to take longer, I note it down, then return to my planned tasks. I also build in buffer time, usually a 30-minute slot, to handle anything unexpected. That way, I stay flexible without losing momentum.
Do you use a planner, a digital tool, or just memory to organize your day?
I rely on a digital planner, usually a tool like Notion or Google Calendar, because it lets me set reminders, adjust tasks easily, and see my schedule all in one place. For example, I can drag and drop tasks if something needs rescheduling. That keeps me organized and makes sure nothing slips through the cracks.
And what role does time blocking play in your daily routine?
Time blocking is really the backbone of my day. I set specific time slots for different tasks, like a 90-minute block for deep work or a 30-minute slot for emails. That structure creates a sense of urgency, keeps me accountable, and ensures I give each important task dedicated focus.
Awesome. And how do you avoid overloading your to do list?
I avoid overload by being really realistic with how much I put on my plate. I keep my daily list short, usually just 3 to 5 big items, so that I can actually finish them. If something new pops up, I either reprioritize or shift a lower priority task to another day. That keeps me focused and avoids burnout.
Are you busy or are you actually productive? How do you tell the difference?
That's a really important distinction. I make that distinction by asking, am I moving the needle on my goals? Being busy often means I have lots of tasks, but productivity means I'm getting the right things done. So I measure by results. If the task contributes to a bigger outcome, then I call it productive, not just busy.
And what distraction steal most of your time? And how do you control them?
The biggest distraction for me is usually social media. It's just so easy to get pulled in. To control it, I set app limits on my phone and I also block those sites during focus time using website blockers. That way, when I sit down to work, I know those distractions are off limits and I stay on task much better.
Okay, and how do you review and adjust your daily plan?
At the end of each day, I take about 10 minutes to review how things went. I ask myself what worked, what didn't, and if I need to shift priorities. For instance, if I didn't finish a key task, I move it to the next day. Then I adjust my next morning's plan so I'm always staying flexible and aligned with what actually matters.
How do you schedule breaks intentionally or do they just happen?
I schedule them intentionally. I block short breaks, usually 10 to 15 minutes between focus sessions, and I also plan a longer break around midday. For example, after a 90-minute deep work block, I'll step away, stretch, or grab a snack. That intentionality keeps me refreshed and helps me stay productive all day.
How does your energy level influence how you plan your day?
My energy level's a huge factor. I try to align my hardest, most important tasks with when I feel most alert, usually mid morning or after lunch. So if I notice my energy dipping, I save easier or repetitive tasks for that time. This way, I'm using my natural rhythms to keep productivity high.
All right, and are you aligning your daily tasks with your long term goals?
Yes, I make a point to do that each week. I look at my long term goals and then break them down into smaller steps. Each day I ask, does this task contribute to those stacks? If not, I either adjust or reprioritize. That keeps me moving forward consistently, not just day to day busy work.
What is one habit that consistently improves your productivity?
One habit that really boosts my productivity is a daily planning ritual. Every morning, I quickly review my top priorities and align them with my calendar. That intentional start sets the pace, so I know exactly what matters and I don't get pulled off track by less important things.
All right, and how do you stay disciplined when motivation is low?
When motivation dips, I rely on habits and routines. I remind myself that discipline is just showing up even when I don't feel like it. I keep tasks small, so even if I just do a few minutes, I build momentum. And I also reflect on why the task matters, reminding myself of the bigger picture. That keeps me going even when it's tough.
What is the one small change you can make today to improve your daily structure?
I think one small change I can make today is setting a hard cutoff time for when I stop work. Right now, I tend to stretch it out, but if I define a clear end to my day, I give myself a boundary to recharge. That small shift will help me maintain balance and stay consistent.
And how do you prioritize the task when everything feels urgent?
When everything feels urgent, I step back and look at the bigger impact. I ask which task, if not done today, would have the most significant consequence. Then I also consider what's going to move me closer to a long term goal. After that, I adjust and focus only on the top two or three so I'm not overwhelmed by the noise.
All right, that's great. And do you batch similar tasks together to save time? Why or why not?
Yes, I definitely batch similar tasks. For example, I do all my emails at once or I group meetings together. This saves me time because I don't have to context switch constantly. It keeps me in a flow state so I can focus more deeply and get things done faster.
Okay. And how do you end your day? Do you reflect, reset, or just stop?
I end my day with a brief reflection. I review what I accomplished, what didn't go as planned, and what I want to improve tomorrow. Then I jot down my top three priorities for the next day. After that, I disconnect from screens, do something relaxing, and that lets me reset so I can start fresh the next morning.
What tools or apps have made the biggest difference in your productivity?
For me, a big one is Notion. I use it for organizing tasks, projects, and notes all in one place. I also rely on Google Calendar to time block and set reminders. And for focus, I use an app called Forest, which gamifies staying off my phone. Together, those really keep me on track.
And how do you ensure work life balance while staying productive?
I ensure balance by setting firm boundaries. I plan my work hours and stick to them, and I schedule personal time like family, hobbies, or rest, just like any other task. For instance, I don't check work emails after a set time so I can recharge and come back fresh the next day.
Awesome. My last question is, if you had to design your ideal productive day, what would it include?
If I were designing my ideal productive day, it would start with a calm morning routine, a bit of reflection, a bit of exercise. Then I'd have a few deep work blocks focused on my most impactful projects. I'd build in intentional breaks, walking or reading, so I stay refreshed. And I'd end the day with a short reflection and planning for tomorrow. That balance of focus, breaks, and intention is what makes it ideal for me.
Thank you very much, GPT. You have been very kind, and you gave us really good knowledge and wisdom today. Hopefully, we'll touch base again with you with new subjects. Until then, let me say bye to you. Have a very wonderful day. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm really glad I could help. And absolutely, whenever you're ready for another topic, I'll be here. Take care and have a great day.